We're going to be watching his stories because I have free will and because I want to.
Walked into the school gym with a plastic gun and fake blood covering my shirt, ready to win the annual costume contest. I saw kids dressed in mummies and skeletons,
That is the crappiest mummy I've ever seen.
but then a kid stumbled in wearing just jeans and a plain white shirt. I tapped him with my fake gun and asked why he entered without a costume. But when he turned around, his entire face was gray. He was clutching his stomach and dropped to the floor, and blood instantly began pooling under him. I gripped my head,
Did you just kill him?
wondering if this was real. But then I saw a bullet wound in his back. A girl screamed,
Did you actually shoot him, like, genuinely? Oh, nah.
and suddenly every head
Could never
snapped towards
be
me.
me.
They saw me standing over a bleeding out kid, holding a gun with blood on my shirt. "He shot him!" someone yelled as a teacher crouched behind a student to call 911.
Oh my
I instantly
gosh.
threw my hands up. "It's fake! My gun is a costume! This wasn't me!" I held my pistol up to prove it, but everyone instantly started climbing over each other to get away from me. I didn't know what to do, wondering if there was a real shooter in this building, and just dropped down and gripped the kid's shoulder. "Please get up. Tell them I didn't shoot you." But he wouldn't move even when I shook him. I couldn't hear him breathing, and his blood kept spreading under my knees. My hands trembled as I threw my plastic gun across the floor, and suddenly I felt kids tackle me and pin me to the ground, twisting my arms. That's when the doors slammed open. Two cops ran in while teachers and students screamed I'd shot someone. They drove their knees into my back, and I cried as the cuffs clicked shut behind my back. I was still thrashing and screaming I didn't do this, when suddenly I heard clapping. The principal was on his feet, grinning, while everyone stared at him horrified. He ran towards me and wrapped a gold medal around the neck of the kid on the ground. What a costume. This is why my son is the best. He smiled, and suddenly the kid sat up, alive and well. My jaw dropped as he
Oh, I am going to beat that kid's ass. He can't be doing pranks like that.
spat an empty bag of fake blood out of his mouth, and when I looked closer, I saw the bullet in his backup was just makeup. He stood up and raised his hand. My costume was to pretend to be shot, but the cops uncuffed me and immediately cuffed him instead. Pretending to be shot at school was also your crime. You're coming with us.
Ooh.
I clinked glasses with my wife and toasted to never having kids. She smiled. "This is why I love you. You're okay with never having filthy gremlins running around." But then my phone rang, and when I picked it up, an officer said, "We're so sorry. Please come to Orchard Fostering Agency right now." My blood ran cold as I told my wife I needed to go. I walked into the agency with my legs shaking and saw my 8-year-old niece, Lucy, hugging her teddy. Her eyes were red. I knelt down. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Daddy's dead," she replied without looking at me. I felt my legs buckle because my little brother was dead. But before I could even think, a woman tapped my shoulder. Lucy wouldn't talk to any of us. She asked for her Uncle Dan specifically. "If you can't take her tonight, she'll have to go into the foster system." I said I'll take her in before my brain could think. We climbed into my car, and my hands shook on the wheel. I told my wife I'd never have kids, but when I looked at Lucy sobbing into her bear, I knew I couldn't abandon her. We pulled in, and I walked inside with a lump in my throat. My wife saw Lucy and immediately sneered, "What's she doing here?" Lucy jumped, but I told her to stay down and asked my wife to please talk upstairs. She slammed her fork and followed me while Lucy sat on the couch. She slammed the door while tapping her foot, and I explained everything. My brother's death, Lucy asking for me, her being thrown into foster care unless we took her. But my wife didn't even hug me. She clenched her jaw, and her first words were immediately, "We promised we'd have no kids." She stormed out and stomped downstairs before I could react. I followed her, but she was already in Lucy's face. "We're not raising you. I'm sorry about your dad, but you're not staying. Now go pack your bags while I call."
Hey. Wait, what was her name again?
Looked at Lucy sobbing into her bear. I knew I couldn't abandon her. We pulled in, and I walked inside with a lump in my throat. My wife saw Lucy and immediately sneered, "What's she doing here?" Lucy jumped, but I told her to stay down and asked my wife to please talk upstairs. She slammed her fork and followed me while Lucy sat on the couch. She slammed the door while tapping her foot, and I explained everything. My brother's death, Lucy asking for me, her being thrown into foster care unless we took her. But my wife didn't even hug me. She clenched her jaw, and her first words were immediately, "We promised we'd have no kids." She stormed out and stomped downstairs before I could react. I followed her, but she was already in Lucy's face. "We're not raising you. I'm sorry about your dad, but you're not staying. Now go pack your bags while I call the foster agency." My face dropped in horror because she'd already grabbed her phone, and Lucy actually stood up. She grabbed her bear and walked towards the door like she was going to leave, and that's when I called out, "No, Lucy's staying." My wife put her phone down and turned to me. "No, she should stop being selfish and putting this mess on us. It's not our fault she got unlucky with her dad," Lucy said quietly.
That is disrespectful as shit. Yo. The amount of punches and hooks I will throw for her saying that is unimaginable. This is what I'm gonna do to her.
Hey there, little guy. What's your name? Jason? Okay. Hey!
Yeah, that's what
why'd
it
you hit my
reminds
head?
me of.
Sorry
That's what
for
I'm
that.
gonna do.
I'm so sorry. Because you can get into it.
So that's how I'm gonna feel.
She should stop being selfish and putting this mess on us. It's not our fault she got unlucky
You're
with her
being
dad, Lucy said
selfish.
quietly. It's okay, I'll just leave. But I
That's
shook my
his
head and got in my
niece.
wife's face. That's my brother you're talking about, and Lucy's staying. I stomped
Yup.
my foot, and my wife stepped back. Okay, then choose, me or that stupid girl. I looked at Lucy.
Stupid. Kick her out of the house. Like throw her suitcase in her face, or just do this.
Then
the
at my
same thing I
wife,
would do.
easiest decision I've ever made. You just showed me your true colors. Get out of my house. Her jaw dropped, and she threw a wine glass at me before
Bro, kick her in the back of the knees and throw a right hook.
storming out and slamming my door. Lucy was still crying as I dropped down and hugged her. Uncle Dan's got you, sweetheart. You're staying. We're gonna help each other get through this. We sobbed into each other's arms. I never saw my wife again, but 10 years later, I sat at Lucy's graduation, holding her bear and watching her get her diploma as she smiled at me. She's still my niece, but she's also my daughter too. I opened the trivia game during my flight and typed my name in as Aaron Baum because my dad was from Thailand and Baum was my surname. But when a flight attendant walked by and saw Baum on my screen, she immediately speed walked to the pilot. I thought nothing and kept answering chemistry questions, but then the pilot's voice came on. We're making an emergency landing. Nobody panic. I was confused until 2 crew members showed up to my seat. Please come with us. I stood and followed them, my heart pounding. In the cockpit, the co-pilot closed the curtains and calmly said, "We know you have a bomb on this plane." I immediately shook my head, but a flight attendant was already zip-tying my wrists so tight my fingers tingled. She pulled a tablet with the trivia game I'd been playing. "You put your username as Aaron Baum. We know you're making a discreet bomb threat." I almost laughed, explaining Aaron Baum was just my name, but the co-pilot was already calling Bomb Squad and FBI through his radio. The best thing you can do right now
He's an
is admit you're
idiot.
guilty. You're already getting 25 years minimum. Then a passenger pulled open our curtain. I'm flying to my daughter's heart surgery. She could die and I might not be there to hold her hand. Do we really need to emergency land? He was sweating, but the pilot held up his hand. "I'm sorry about your daughter, but this is more serious." A flight attendant escorted him to his seat without another word. We continued descending, and they kept asking.
Like, this is what you look like right now. So this is what she looks like. I mean, he.
Yes.
Don't mind
Hello,
SpongeBob.
young lady. We're selling chocolate. Is your mother home? Mom! What's all that yelling?
This is what she looks like. I mean, he looks like. So yeah, he cannot be talking.
And they kept asking
Alright.
if the bomb was on a timer and how I snuck it past security. I begged to show them my passport, but they never let me. When we made our emergency landing, 2 FBI officers rushed into the cockpit with a bomb squad holding my bag. They carefully
Bruh.
unzipped it. "Where's the bomb?" They tossed all my things to the floor, and
Oh,
I again said, "I
I'll
don't
eat
have
the
one.
cheese
Aaron
and
Baum is
stuff."
my name." That's when the bomb squad member squinted. He opened my passport. Says here Aaron Baum is just his name. The whole crew went silent as they looked at my passport. Aaron Baum. The flight
I
attendant
told
turned to
y'all,
me. "We're sorry,
dumbass."
Mr. Baum. We can offer you a $15 meal voucher for the misunderstanding."
Um,
I opened the trivia game during
You called the FBI and the bomb squad, and all you're gonna get in return is a $15 meal? Oh nah, I'm doing more than just that.
I was reaching for a Sprite at the grocery store when I noticed a gap behind the fridge, big enough to crawl through. My mom was busy shopping up front, so I climbed in to explore. But when I popped out the other side, 2 big masked men froze and stared at me, and one was holding a gun. My heart started pounding, but then the shorter one crouched down. "Hey buddy, wanna play a game? Help us out and you can have all the chips and soda you want." This felt weird, but my mom never let me have snacks at home, so I nodded yes, not knowing how crazy things would get. The tall one boosted me up to a small window above a locked door. "Here's the game. Crawl through, open the the door and grab the
Oh, you
treasure
have the
inside,
bad
but be super
guys?
quiet.
Okay.
So I wiggled through, but I knocked over a whole stack of boxes by accident. Crash! A worker called from the front. Everything okay back there? The men ducked, the gun pressed flat against the wall, but I just giggled and unlocked the door. Inside was a room full of money, and they said the cash was the treasure, so I stuffed it into a bag as fast as I could. I was having so much fun that I dropped a handful right as footsteps came toward the door, and they yanked me into the shadows until the footsteps walked away. But reaching for the last stack, my elbow bumped a little red button, and a silent light started flashing. The men's faces went white, and the tall one shoved the heavy bag into my arms. Quick, you got the treasure. Now run it to the white van outside, fast. If anyone asks, your dad's waiting for you. So I hugged the bag tight and ran, the chips and soda motivating me to go faster. I
Oh
ran
my
out the front
God.
doors, but the parking lot was full of police cars with their lights spinning. I walked past them toward the white van, hugging my treasure, but a cop stepped in front of me. Whoa, where you headed, buddy? I grinned up at him. I'm bringing the treasure to the van. My dad's waiting, and I get chips and soda if I hurry. But he looked skeptical, unzipped the bag, and his eyes went wide at all the cash. Son, who gave this to you? I pointed towards the back. The nice guys in the back. I crawled through the window and opened the door for them. His face changed, and he grabbed his radio. Minutes later, they dragged the two masked men out in handcuffs, and everyone was calling me a little hero. I didn't get why, but the police gave me all the chips and soda as a reward. But before I could open it, my mom rushed in and took the snacks right out of my hands. No snacks!
Oh my God.
My friends and I were in the backyard blasting my older brother's exclusive Nerf blaster when he ripped it out of my hands and shoved me like he always does. You're too much of a baby to even hold this. Get your loser friends out of here. I'm telling Mom you stole it. My friend's faces dropped, so I yelled, I'm not a baby. I can shoot better than you. He smirked and pointed at a tiny can on the fence across the yard. Fine, hit that in one shot and you can keep the blaster. Miss, and your friends are banned for good. And I'm telling Mom. He tossed me the blaster, laughing, because he knew I'd never made a shot like that in my life. My friends gathered behind me, hyping me up as I raised the blaster and lined up the tiny can across the yard. I took a slow breath and steadied my aim, dead on it, and I smiled, knowing I was finally about to prove him wrong. But the second my finger squeezed the trigger, my brother shoved me hard in the back, and the dart flew way off to the side, sailing toward the fence. He burst out laughing as I hit the dirt. You're pathetic. I knew a little
Shoot him
baby
in the
like you couldn't
leg.
do it. My friends erupted, screaming that he cheated, but he didn't care. He just cupped his hands and yelled for Mom while waving them off. Get out of here. You're all banned losers. Then he ripped the blaster out of my hands and leaned down over me. You'll never prove me wrong. But then one of my friends started jumping up and down, screaming, He's a goat! He's the goat! My brother smirked and
what?
puffed out his chest. Yeah, I know I am. Not you, you idiot, your brother. My brother spun around and his face went pale. My dart had ricocheted off the fence post and stuck dead center on the can. His
Oh.
own shove is what landed the shot. That doesn't count. Right then, the back door opened and Mom came out. Someone called me. My brother opened his mouth, but I stood up and pointed at him. He shoved me on the ground and called all my friends losers. Mom marched over, grabbed him by the ear, and dragged him inside, grounding him as he flailed his arms and
Dang.
cried. I turned to my friends and held out the blaster. Turns out I only needed one shot to prove him wrong.
That didn't seem real.
The teacher handed me back a test with F-, written in bright red ink. I couldn't believe it.
So that's
I
how
had
he
stayed up the
starts the
entire
story,
night
okay.
before, studying until I literally passed out. I looked over at my best friend Jackson's test, A plus 100% correct answers. I asked him if I could compare my answers with his to see where I messed up. We had the same answer for the first question. Must be some mistake, but I kept going down the list. Jackson and I answered every single question exactly the same way.
He copied! How is that even? Okay. Bro, I'm gonna be like Darman. So you see, if you're friends with someone and okay, yeah, I cannot be Darman.
This didn't make any sense. Just to be sure, I even used my smart
Um,
glasses to
so
scan
you
both tests. They were identical.
I'm gonna try again. So you see, if you're friends with someone and they, if you're friends with someone and they always want something, then they're not really your friend. I think that was the quote. I think so.
walked up to the teacher and asked for an answer. The math teacher, Mr. Maloney, sat behind his desk, already looking unhappy to see me. He looked down at the two papers in front of him, then looked up at me with an evil grin and poured his water bottle out onto the...
Like, punch him. My anger issues is gonna lash out like, I'm gonna throw a left and right hook, and I'm gonna jab him and elbow him. Like, I am gonna kick him where it hurts. I meant,
Papers. The ink bled, and the paper started to fall apart. What? Why did you do that? Unfortunately for you, the grades have already been recorded, and now you have no proof. Now sit down. I'll speak to you after class. I took my seat and waited for class to end with no idea what just happened or what was going to happen. The bell rang and the rest of the class left, leaving just me and Mr. Maloney. Sir, what's going on here?
at this point, I am not even gonna finish this. If I want to break my phone down, I'm gonna finish this. But that's it for today's video. If you didn't, smash that like and subscribe button, and I'm out. My anger issues.